Shalom, shalom. Shalom, everyone. Okay, just making a quick video. Just looking throughout the Torah and the Tanakh in regards of the land that was promised to Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov in regards to the covenant of keeping Torah within the land and in the wilderness. Well, as I was studying over the past, say, 16 years that I've been studying, that I was told that keeping the commandments in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5, keep the commandments throughout all Leviticus, the whole Torah, keep it, which we know some of them that we couldn't keep because obviously there's no temple, but also the biggest one was that we were not in the land. Now, what is the land? What is the land that has always been mentioned throughout the Old Testament, the Tanakh? Well, as I stumbled on Genesis 15:18, I came to realize that the land had borders. So I was thinking, if that land has borders, then are we supposed to be keeping the Torah outside those borders? So I kept on reading, and I came to, because I was keeping the Sabbath and all that sort of stuff, whether we're keeping it on the right seventh day or not, people can't actually give us the right day or when the seventh day was since creation. But however, anyway, Leviticus 25:2, it states, when you come into the land, and then the next verse 2, it says to keep the Sabbath. So I'm like, when you come into the land, you keep Sabbath. And then you read Numbers 15 right through. The contents, verse 1, 2, 3, is all about the land. And then onwards is the commands. So I'm thinking, again, that the Torah is only kept inside the land of the borders of Genesis 15:18, rather than how we all saw it, that it was the whole earth. But it wasn't. When you look at the word earth, in the Hebrew it's eretz. It can mean land, dirt, it can mean ground, everything to do with the earth. But one thing that stuck out was where it says, and it can be territory, it can be land or borders. So, in other words, now we're seeing the word earth and world getting mixed up with us. Be able to keep the commandments on the other side of the planet, or anywhere outside the borders of Abraham's land that was given to him in Genesis 15:18. So, and then now I've come to the conclusion that everybody outside of that border between the river Nile, the river Egypt, and the great river and the Euphrates, it just means that it's got Turkey, Assyria, and also Canaan, all the way down to Saudi Arabia, to Egypt, half of Egypt, and then follow the river all the way down past Ethiopia. So that gives us the border. So as far as I can see, that whenever the Torah is being kept, it's only being kept in that portion of the world. not once have I seen or come across any verses that says that they keep the feasts or the Shabbat in the Tanakh, outside that portion of land. Now some will say that they'll bring in the New Testament. Yeah, that's all good. And they say that Paul was in Corinth, or that he was in Greece or whatnot. Bear in mind that when you look at those borders in between those great rivers, that Turkey is a part of it, and all the people that were in Turkey, the 7 churches are actually mentioned in Turkey. So, you know, when you read the scriptures for what it is, you come across a certain place. But it was in one verse, can't remember right now, but I'm sure you fellows will probably find it, where it says that Paul was keeping Sabbatos in Greek, which is in, I believe, Greece or somewhere, or just before Greece, still in Turkey. And they go, yeah, look, there he goes, he's keeping it outside the land. You know, now we should do. But if you go and read the rest of that chapter, you find that Paul says, I must go back to Jerusalem, where I keep the feast. So people in the Greek, Sabbatos just means 7. Doesn't actually mean Shabbat. It just means 7. When you look at the word Shabbat, it means peace. It means a lot of things. But Shabbat is hello in the Hebrew, but also Shabbat means rest. Rest. Cease, stop. Collect yourself. But Sabbatos just means 7. So they were keeping the 7th day outside, which is you do what you like. But Paul specifically said, I must go back into the land to keep the feast. So Paul went back. And look at Acts 2? All those people, they were speaking in different languages. And they knew their tongue outside Canaan, outside the land, the wilderness. They all came in. And what were they saying? They were talking, but they were in the land. They all came from everywhere and went inside, and they sat down, and they were from all types of cultures, but they knew to keep the feast in the land. So again, you know, I don't reject the New Testament, but I find more witnesses in the Old Testament that marries up anyway. So it's a sort of a mirror image. But yeah, so I don't keep the Sabbath, I don't keep the feasts. And also another thing too is that you know, Yahuwah, the God of Israel, he actually set it up pretty much for us. We are where the teeth and the gnashing of the teeth, and where the wicked are. We're outside the land. He only recognizes, the God of Israel only recognizes his people in the land. And if you break the Torah in his land, then you're actually breaking Torah and you're sinning. But outside the land, Torah is not governed for another country. It's only governed between the walls, the borders of Abraham's land, inside. So you look at, for instance, Moses. They put him in the river Nile. Where'd he go? On the other side of the Nile. So now he's outside the Torah land, because remember, the cutoff is the Nile on one side. So there were two pharaohs that received dreams because they were on the same side as the land, but on the other side of the river is where Pharaoh, the time of Moses, where he didn't receive dreams. He never received a dream because he was on the other side. So, you know, that gives us a bit of a heads up with the Exodus account. So yeah, I know, I challenge anybody, if they can come up with a viable verse, which I'll test, and you make sure that because you're commanded in Deuteronomy 19, 2 to 3 witnesses. So whatever witnesses you find in the New Testament, they have to have witnesses in the Tanakh or even in the Torah. So I welcome everybody and all the verses. Just keep in mind that I will get back